Hello my dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I've got what I think is going to be a pretty short video to share with you guys. It's another spoiler-free review, and today we are talking about 27 Minutes by Ashley Tate. So this is Ashley's debut novel, which I found surprising when I learned that because her name seemed so familiar to me that I thought perhaps it was a second or third book. But no, her debut. But I did learn that she's also a writer in other capacities. I think she does editorial work. So maybe that's where I know her name from. Anyway, so I'll give you a brief synopsis and then I'll share my thoughts with you at the end and give you the rating that I'm going to be giving it. And you can decide for yourself if you'd like to pick it up. It comes out the very end of January. So 27 Minutes is kind of the story of a car accident that happened 10 years previous to when the book picks up. And in that accident, a young girl named Phoebe Dean, she was like I think a senior in high school, she's killed. And her brother Grant had been the driver, and there had been a third person in the vehicle, a girl named Becca. She was sitting in the back. So there are many points of view in this book. I think there's 4. No. And it just kind of shuffles back and forth through these points of view characters. So we've got Grant, the brother of the deceased, and the driver of the vehicle. We get a point of view from Becca, the girl in the back, and then points of views from 2 siblings that also live in town and went to school with these 2, June and Wyatt. So now it's the 10-year anniversary of this accident, and Phoebe's passing is drawing nearer. The mom of Grant and Phoebe has decided that she's going to throw a memorial because at the time she had never really been able to do that, but now she wants to. And so it's just basically the story of, I don't even know how to word it. It's basically the story of 4 people trying to tell us what happened that night, but in a way that it's just a lot of build-up with very little payoff until the very, very end. 85% of the book is just going back and forth between the characters, talking about how we can't talk about what happened that night. You can't tell anyone this. You can't tell anyone that. And it's a lot of buildup. That said, I liked the way it was written. I just wished more things had happened a little earlier on. So what we learn is the girl who had been in the back of the truck during the accident, Becca, she had suffered memory loss after the accident because she'd gotten pretty beaten up. And so she was still trying to piece together everything that had happened that night. And then as time goes on, we figure out how June and Wyatt sort of fit into the story. And that's it. So it's just build up to finding out what happened that night and why. Like I said, it comes at the end of January. And I liked how it was written. My big problem with it was that I found there wasn't a single likable character to be found. Not a single one. And as I often talk about in these videos, I don't need to like a character to enjoy their story. But for this one, it was just a little hard to find anything overly interesting about any of the characters. And you'd think there'd be at least one. Plus, I kind of thought it was there's at least 2 of these POV characters that suffer from very intense, very dark mental illness. And I just felt like that wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't overly addressed. There wasn't really any growth for these characters, and I kind of hoped there would have been. That said, I realized that, they went through something very traumatic, but you just think after 10 years, it would have been a little different if it was a year or 2 years later, but a decade on, you'd kind of hope for some kind of growth over a decade. Or at least I would have. What else was I going to say about that? Also, at the end, there's what I'm assuming is supposed to be a big reveal. But I had called that well before the midway point of the book. And then I kept thinking, well, that can't be right. I wouldn't have figured, you know, I shouldn't be able to figure it out that early. But I had. And I think it's a very obvious twist. But the way it's presented, it's like we're supposed to be surprised. So, I don't know. But that said, I didn't hate it. Not by any means. I was entertained. I was like flipping those pages, waiting to see what happened next. I think Ashley Tate has a great voice. And I'll definitely be looking forward to checking out whatever she comes out with next. This one just wasn't fully for me, and that's okay. It might be fully for you. I'm trying to think of authors I might compare it to, but honestly, I can't even really think of any. But it's a thriller, a bit of a mystery, and if you like that, definitely check it out because you might love it. You might love it, and yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. And let me know in the comments down below. If you're watching this in the future, I'm recording this in November, but if you're watching this after the book has come out and you've read it, let me know in the comments below if you were also able to clock that twist really early on. I'm curious to know. It could just be, like, I read a lot of thrillers, a lot. And when I start reading them, my mind starts spinning, trying to think of the craziest thing I can think of. So maybe I'm just a little too saturated in thrillers, so I just start thinking of, you know, you kind of get the feel of how the formulas work and how it's done. Maybe that's it. If you're newer to thrillers, maybe it would take you completely off guard. And I hope it does. I hope it does. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for me for today. Like I said, this is going to be a short one, only because there's not really a lot I can talk about, because not a lot happens until the very end of the book. But I enjoyed reading it, and I'm always thankful to NetGalley and the publisher for tossing me an early copy. So I hope you guys are having a good weekend, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.